Getting a call from CPS is a big deal, so you shouldn't take it lightly. If your ex initiated the complaint, it might be a tactic to gain custody leverage. Judges take CPS reports really seriously, and so should you. CPS, which is Child Protective Services, is part of the Michigan Department of Health, and they get calls from teachers, from nurses, from neighbors, and sometimes from your ex. Investigations are required to begin within 24 hours of receiving a complaint, and then they're supposed to finish their investigation within 30 days. When they do that, cases are categorized from 1, which is severe abuse requiring legal action, to a 5, which means there's no evidence, the case gets closed. CPS has the right to interview parents, the kids. Sometimes they'll want to do that at school. They can interview third parties like teachers or nurses, neighbors, etc. They may ask to do a home inspection to assess the safety, food supply, living conditions of the house where the kids are at. Now, parents aren't required to talk to CPS immediately, and so you may want to consult an attorney first, and often you should, because what you say will be used against you, no matter how well-intentioned you are. So if CPS initiates some kind of legal action, you got to hire an abuse and neglect defense attorney. Now, my video is focusing more on the custody disputes, not the state intervention cases. For example, if you get in with an NA case, neglect abuse case, that the state brings, the prosecutor brings, and you can't afford a lawyer, the court will appoint one for you. But with custody cases, often false allegations are involved in the high conflict custody cases. And so you may get parents who wrongly attribute minor bruises or an accident to some kind of abuse. And if you're facing false accusations, you need a competent custody attorney to help you out immediately. Judges, when they hear about a CPS investigation, will often suspend parenting time or order supervised parenting time. And even though the allegations may have been false, the courts are going to tend and err on the side of caution, at least in the meantime. So you have to request make-up parenting time, assuming that the investigation clears you and there's nothing going on. One thing you should know is that at least CPS does keep records of previous allegations and findings. They'll know if something's going on. Judges will eventually recognize a pattern of manipulation. If you've got a parent that brings an allegation, and every 6 months you've got a new allegation coming down the pike, the court system's going to pick up on that. But you also need to know that every time there's a serious allegation like sexual abuse, it's going to be investigated. And if they're deemed to not be true and you have a pattern of false claims, well, that might warrant sanctions or even a request to change custody. In those cases, the court will often order psychological evaluations. They'll order a custody investigation. They're going to want to have expert testimony to give them to direction to find out why this is going on. If the false allegations continue, you need to proactively seek court relief. Have your attorney get engaged and ask the court to do something about the parent who's making the false accusation. If a parent repeatedly denies court-ordered parenting time, you may end up having to file a show cause motion where you ask the court to ask that other party to show cause why they shouldn't be held in contempt. Here's the downside, is if you have these investigations by CPS and there's long periods of time without contact with your children, that may lead to requiring reunification therapy. Sometimes you've got it where a parent is indoctrinating a child against the other parent, and that can cause long-term psychological damage. So you need to know how CPS works in Michigan. You need to know how the process works. You really need to get an attorney involved quickly at the start. They can be there with you during any time that CPS wants to question you. You have a right to have attorney present. These false allegations, false CPS allegations, can really affect custody battles. And you got to know how it can affect custody, how it can affect your parenting time. And if they're false, those can have long-term consequences, both on the child and on the ultimate result of what a judge is going to do with regards to custody. Hopefully this is informative. You can always give our office a call if you need further help.